Sorry for not being with you for a few days. I have a month-end focused day job and a daughter who was sick. But I come to you after a decent day in the markets. Let's start with the NASDAQ, up 2.5% as bond auctions and inflation data both proved to not be as bad as feared. The best performers are in the semiconductor space, which has been beaten up over the last week on fears of overvaluations. Nvidia was up over 4%, my largest holding Broadcom up 3.7%. Microsoft was up almost 3% as it announced a tie-up with Bethesda, expected to result in some Xbox-only releases, as well as being buoyed by a wider tech recovery, and being a very fine company. Something else to sink our teeth into was the FANG stocks. They all rose between 2 and 4%. Elsewhere on the side of the pond that has elevators instead of lifts was a notable surge by CI International, who announced a share buyback. This is one of my personal hidden gems, and I felt very justified increasing my stake as the stock price reduced over the last few weeks. If you're looking for an IT meets defense company, this could be the one for you, and its shares were finally recognized, rising 5%. More broadly, the S&P 500 was up 1% and the Dow Jones up 0.6%, so not quite as exciting. A lot of the green was more tech-focused as investors rediscovered their love for growth stocks, but there were notable rises in certain REITs. American Tower Corporation up almost 5%, and Equinix up 2.5%. Meanwhile, the expensive shares of Disney showed no real signs of slowing down as investors continue to get excited about parks reopening and cruises restarting. Unquestionably an extremely likable company, though I keep waiting for a dip that never seems to come, which rather takes the mickey. Back on the side of the pond where we put the letter U in our favourite stocks, and the FTSE's rise was more modest, up 0.2% on the FTSE 100 and 0.6% on the FTSE 250. A strengthening sterling after a recent dip gave investors pause for thought and meant some profit taking after mining companies and oil majors who convert their dollar sales back into sterling. Still, BP and Shell managed small rises on the back of a strong oil price, as did Fresnillo, which is a gold miner, and Antofagasta, which is a copper miner. It also meant that the banks were impacted as a result of interest rate rises being seen as less likely following mooted inflation numbers. Financials had run up a little and were also primed for some profit taking. HSBC topped the losers table though, falling 4%, also not helped by ever-stalling improvements from the unwieldy Leviathan. Personally, I'm no fan of HSBC and prefer Lloyds if you want a UK bank. It did still fall 0.7% on the day, but has found support above the 40p a share level after a recent rise, and I personally increased my buy price to 38p from 33p on the back of its improving numbers. Top of the FTSE 100 was a stock I've toyed with but never bought. I should have gambled, as Flutter Entertainment shot up 5.5%. For those who don't know, Flutter owns PokerStars as well as Paddy Power and Betfair. I couldn't find any real reason for the rise, but it has seen a steady increase in its share price and it is seemingly integrating components smoothly. The FTSE 250 was another company you've probably never heard of, Marshalls Group, up over 8%. As a landscaping and building supplier, it had a difficult 2020, though it did still manage a small profit, but investors were really excited by 2021 revenues to date, as well as the orders, which were up 7% and 12% on a year before, which was also before COVID lockdowns began. If I'm honest, I think the reaction was a bit overdone, and I do wonder if there'll be some reassessing in a day or two. That said, it is a well positioned to enjoy the recovery and perhaps had gone unnoticed before, certainly by me also, so who knows. Wrapping up in Asia then, the Nikkei rose 0.6%, but has fallen back from its 3-decade highs of mid-Feb, and now sits a little over 29,000. The Hang Seng was similar, though a slightly softer fall, as investors like changes made to the listing rules a few weeks ago. In Shanghai, there was a near 3% rise, though this has fallen by almost 10% over the last month and was probably due a favourable correction, whilst the ASX was broadly flat, falling sharply in the morning before recovering. As mentioned, the pound gained against the dollar and is now back to the 140 levels, whilst Bitcoin is now at a record of $58,000 and has the 60 firmly in its sights. That wraps up everything from me today then. I've been Liam, and good luck with your investing. Thanks, everyone.